Hi, my name is Jacob, and welcome to another episode of Uncut on the Abrasive Conversations platform. For a moment, I didn't know my name. So, yes, it's me, Jacob. I'm back for another episode, and in this episode, I would like to speak about the proposal of the 2% increase in value-added tax. Now, value-added tax or VAT or VAT, it is what the government raise to the products and the things that we buy in the store. So they raise that and they take that money and then they give us essential services. So they give us services like hospitals, they give us services like schools, they fix our roads, and they ensure that we are safe. There is police to ensure that we don't kill each other or hurt each other, and that there is an army protecting us and our borders from any potential invasion. So value-added tax is one of those means where the government gets money from its citizens to deliver essential services. So what our current government has done, it has increased, or there's a proposal to increase value-added tax with not 1%, but with 2%. Now, the reason why they're asking for 2%, it is to pay for a larger, growing public expenditure, and they outlined it. The minister outlined it, and there's various reasons why we have to do it. And one of the reasons, and what they put forward, if we do not increase value-added tax, then we have to borrow more money. And this is the important part, is that the South African government is broke. We don't have money. We have been borrowing money to cover some of the public expenditure. And Eskom was one of those big reasons that we had to borrow money. So the moment you start borrowing money, you have to pay back money. And I know many of you watching this channel and support me might have been in a situation like this. You borrow money from a friend, and at the end of the month or sometime you need to pay back the money, but you don't have the money. So when you don't have the money, you default or you give the little bit that you have. So you borrowed 1,000 rand, say, hey bruh, I only have 200 rand this month, I can give you the 200 rand. So now you give the person the 200 rand, but you still owe that person an 800 rand. Now South Africa is in a similar situation. Is that the debt that we have amount is so much that we are running a risk of to fall in a perpetual cycle of debt, and do not have the means to get out of it. So one of the interventions that they have now is value-added tax, increase it by 2%, then we can pay some of our debt, and we can give increases to public officials, and we can deliver services. Now, this is a plan from the government, but I don't think it's one of the best plans that they put forward, because where is most of the burden going to fall if you increase value-added tax? It's going to fall on citizens, and the people who's going to feel it the most is going to be the middle class. So the middle class in South Africa is the group that are being taxed the most. So if you have a middle class earning job, you get taxed from 24% up until I think 39%. So 39% of your salary, if you in the upper levels of middle class, 39% of your salary is going to SARS. So what that means, if you are earning R1 million a year, then you have to give the South African government 390,000 rand. So of your salary, you give that money. It is going to the government. Then you as a middle class person still has to go into store, and you have to buy products, you have to buy food for your family. And with this 2% increase in value-added tax, you as a middle class person is going to feel it. So if you as a middle class person is going to feel it, what options is open there for you, especially if you do not have enough money to give your family all of the support that they need. So you go to the bank, you get a second credit card, you get a third credit card, you get a loan, you get more debt to live and cover the means of your family. So even though the South African government is in a cycle of debt, the middle class have been in a perpetual cycle of debt in South Africa because of raising taxes, income tax and value-added tax. So the middle class has been feeling it. And another reason why the middle class has been feeling it is because the middle class doesn't get the services that is going to the poor and to the working class. So for example, a lot of students are protesting on campus nowadays, and most of those students are the missing middle students, is the students from the middle class. So their parents are too poor to put them into university, but they're too rich to get the support from government. So what most of those families have to do, they have to rely on study loans, they have to rely on more loans so that they can put their children through university. Now here's the interesting part. Even their children, when they get out, they're debt and they have to pay debt, specific debt. So South Africa, we find ourselves in this perpetual cycle of debt. Now this is where the interesting part comes, is that the middle class is in debt, the poor is poor, the working class is barely surviving, and then you have the small minority in South Africa who are living their lives. They are the super rich, they don't have to work, and they do not feel the tax burden that we are feeling, because most of them have companies, they have trusts, and those entities are not being taxed the same way as we are being taxed. So company tax is way less than income, personal income tax. So you as a middle class person are set up to fail because you are competing with the super rich. So you live in a city where you pay rent because you cannot afford to save enough money to put it on a deposito and apply for a bond. So you can't even own a bit of property. You cannot start a business because it's an over-competitive environment. So the only option for you is in the second economy or the informal economy. And there you don't make a lot of money because the competition is also super high there. So as a middle class person, poor person, and a working class person, you're screwed in South Africa. But if you are a rich person in South Africa, you are living your life. You have the opportunity to take your money to any different country. You can leave this country at any time. You don't need South Africa. And the South African government are run by the super rich people who have interests in various companies. They're on the board of directors, and even our president is a super rich person. So this is where we find us. The government, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is a super rich person in South Africa, is proposing to put the tax burden on the middle class so that he doesn't have to put a lot of tax on the rich people and his buddies. So we as a middle class, once again, are screwed. Now, the reason why we're in this situation and why we haven't got out of it is because of the type of system that we have. We have a social welfare system. So a social welfare system means is that the middle class will always be taxed. So I completely understand it. We are a social welfare system. The middle class is looking after the majority. So there's specific rights that is social welfare rights, like the right to housing, the right to education, the right to access to health. All of those is social welfare. the right, any other of those social welfare rights, the middle class has to fork out most of the money to ensure that we as a democracy are stable. Now, the political consequence that it will have for the ANC and for a lot of political parties is that the middle class have this swing vote. They swing it to parties where their interests are. And in the coming years, as we see the setup of the political system at this particular point, the middle class swing vote is going to determine who's going to be in power. And at this particular moment, the ANC is not looking after the middle class. So if you're not looking after the middle class, then you are losing that vote. So yes, of course, you are catering to your base, the poor and black majority. That is your base. So you're catering for that base. But our politics are fragmenting. We have a proportional representation system, and the system is going to get more and more fragmented. And the middle class vote is going to be the determinant factor in the coming years in politics. So with this being said, I have a solution for our finance minister and the GNU, the government. Yes, I understand that there's debt that we have to pay off. What I'm proposing you do is you increase it by 1%. You not by 2, by 1%. But then you increase company tax significantly more. You also ensure that products like your alcohol, sugar, and all of those things that causes specific diseases, that they also take significantly more. And then you ensure that food, the basic food and things that people need to have in South Africa is much cheaper. In that way, you are appealing to the middle class also. But please, I know that you guys are friends with the super rich in South Africa. You eat at the same restaurants, you live in the same hotels, you sometimes even sharing the same planes that you guys are flying on. I do not have privy to the life that you guys have and the privileges that you have. So as a middle class person, I'm asking you humbly, please only increase it to 1%. Increase company tax more and increase sin tax more. In that way, I think we will be able to cover the deficit. And just to end off this episode, I owe SARS at this particular point 10,000 rand, more than 10,000 rand, because the organization that I work for didn't deduct all of the tax. So at this point, I owe SARS 10,000 rand as a middle class person. As a middle class person, 10,000 rand is a lot of money. I can do a lot of things with that 10,000 rand. So I've been trying to settle it at SARS, but it's been taking me months. I've been sitting in the queues. I've been trying to get a settlement. I've been disputing it, and the emails just keep coming. You need to settle this money. We will take you there. We will take it directly from your account. So me as a middle class person, feel it in real time. I owe SARS, and I cannot afford to pay them back. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the reality of South Africa. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.